Hey everyone, Wood-Psyche here again. Hope everyone's doing okay. We got a different scenario here this time. It's going to be using compromised cottonwood bark. It's ultra sketchy, as I just mentioned in there in the title. But I'm going to have things chapter marked because this is kind of a longer format video. It's about a half hour, but I know some people don't watch these things all the way through. I know some do, some don't, but majority tend to just click through whatever. But I get it. So anyway, yeah, I'm just changing up using the old school knife method here because sometimes you just want to carve and not hear that constant sound of the machine, which I find sometimes bothersome, but that's the way it is sometimes. So I just want to change up and use this bark because it's easier to carve with by hand as well. And it doesn't kick up a lot of dust when you're using a knife as well. So, as you can see, it's pretty fucking gnarly. Excuse my language. This video is not made for children, I think. So, if I offended anyone with my language, I apologize. Yeah, anyway, I got to hit the farm here pretty soon. Next month, I believe, is when harvest starts for the spuds. So, there may be some sporadic uploads, but I'm going to try to create some videos ahead of time. Yeah, I got some really cool ideas, which I'd rather not mention. Sorry about that, but they're kind of a surprise, I'd say. Everyone likes surprises, right? Like opening up Christmas gifts, you don't know what's inside kind of thing. So anyway, that's what I got in store. A few ideas, actually. So stay tuned. It might have to happen after harvest, which lasts till end of October. So that being said, it may be a while before I implement these ideas that I mentioned. So other than that, I'll try to maintain some kind of upload regimen in the meantime. And it's actually kind of difficult when you're working in this kind of a seasonal environment where you're working like 12 to 14-hour days, and it gets kind of tiresome. And it's basically wake up, work, go back home, go to sleep, rinse and repeat, do it all over for like 30 plus days straight. I mean, you have no weekends off. It's all like 24/7, more or less, because of the nature of the business. But after it's done, it's highly rewarding, I would say. I'm sure there's a few farm workers out there in the crowd. And yeah, it's a lot of work being a farmer. A lot of people take it for granted, but when you actually step out there, it's actually a whole new ball game. But let's just move on to other things here while we're carving something more relevant. So this bark is from Nebraska, and I just picked it up. It wasn't the best kind, but I just, you always give things a chance and hope for the best. But this one, it's like borderline fireplace action going on, but sometimes I try to challenge myself and use something that's like seriously compromised. Yeah, I'm sure you've noticed the little critters running around in the background. They're my resident squirrels that um, hang out with me every day. Got two types of species. You got the chipmunks, and then you got the golden mantled squirrel. People were confused about the golden mantle. They thought they were chipmunks, but actually no, they're not. They're scurrying about looking for various types of food. There was a scare recently in Oregon about those golden mantle squirrels carrying the bubonic plague, so you got to be kind of careful with these things if they bite you. I mean, if you catch it in time, you could get shots and stop the disease or the infection, I say. But yeah, it could be pretty nasty, but you just got to be wary and mindful. Use some common sense. But since their habitat was disrupted from the bootleg fire, it seems like there's been a mass explosion of them, like resurgence of them. They bounced back quite well, actually, after the fire, I thought. But that's the thing, with nature, it has its way of correcting itself. So anyway, this going back to this bark, we're more or less using it as a practice, I would say, a demonstration of sorts. What I should really do is get a set of gouges or something like that for this kind of work. The buck knife is fine, but it's just like limited with its usage. Yeah, I guess there's some techniques, like I'm trying to do some stop cuts here. It seems like it work okay, but the problem with cottonwood bark, it comes off in flakes, so you got to be careful, which you'll see here momentarily. I'll chapter mark it, but if you don't want to like sift through it, the video, but yeah, basically the nose pops off because it's just one of the layers that's on the top level. And so when I was trying to burnish it with a scribe, it just popped off and I didn't bother gluing it back on. So my reasoning was just to leave it off, and I'll just like push things back farther since I got enough real estate underneath it. Yeah, I'd like to address the situation up in British Columbia. There's a lot of fires up there, and I hope Jordy's doing okay. I went through a major fire 2 years ago with a bootleg and lost all my 20 acres. Fortunately, the trees are coming back. They replanted themselves because due to the nature of the lodgepole pine, particularly, where fire releases the seed cones and they replant themselves after the fact. So it's a cycle of life, but it's unfortunate that things happen like this to our livelihoods. But I just wanted to do the shout out to Jordy and hope he's doing okay. So because I know he's up there. I'm not sure exactly where he lives, but it's up there in British Columbia. So and it's pretty scary up there, and it's getting scary in other parts of the world too. For example, Hawaii just lost over 100 people, and that's on Hawaii too. That's so isolated. There's nowhere to run when you have a fire like that. Just people were jumping in the ocean and stuff like that. So you can only imagine. And then some guy tried to save his dog and got burned up in a car with his dog or something, trying to save his dog. It's pretty sad. So, and the thing with the fire with me, I lost all my valuable pieces, my faces that I made. Particularly the ones that you see on my banner on my YouTube page. It's all those are toast, nothing left. Yeah, I'm going off on some tangents here, but I just thought that was a necessary thing to address since it's a relevant topic these days. So anyway, so this is my second buck knife carving. I did one previously not long ago, and it's under the playlist of cottonwood bark carvings. So if you want to check it out, see how that one looks. It's similar to this one. This one's going to be more of a caricature style face with some exaggerated features. Yeah, here I'm using the wire wool or steel wool. It's one of my main weapons in my arsenal of tools that I use for wood carving. And one of the main reasons why I use steel wool is its flexibility. It conforms to contours and shapes and gives things more of a natural look finish in the end. These squirrels are going ape shit. Sorry about that. I just wanted to do some outdoor carving, and then obviously I have to share the environment with these little critters, but it's all good. If any of you are new to this channel, I'll reiterate my use with the pencil. It's basically used to mark areas where I need to focus on for removal. Also, I'll use this metal scribe. This one's a custom made scribe I did. One end's blunted and the other end's sharp. The blunt end's not finished or anything, it's just more squared off, but you could still use it for burnishing features. It just adds a whole new dimension to your pieces. If used properly, that is. You'll see here soon the improper use of this tool when I knock off the tip of this guy's nose. I just got carried away and I didn't realize the fragility of this bark. It's really kind of dangerous sometimes. It kind of is like disheartening when you do all this like work and you find out in the end the piece falls off. So it's really kind of a setback, but not the end of the world. You can always make adjustments, which in my case, I opted out for the glue job. I just decided to just like modify the whole piece. It's a matter of choice, but sometimes you would have to glue it if it's like a very critical and you want to keep that nose on there because you like it. But for me, it was just like, well, I could just like modify the surrounding areas and push things back farther and kind of start all over again in some regards. But there's always that possibility where the next one will come off as well too, so you got to be aware of that situation as well. Yeah, if you're ever bored and can't figure out what to carve, it's good to use some reference pictures and get some ideas, or do some screen grabs and stuff like that off some movies and stuff off your laptop or computer, and then use those as future references. So that helps out a lot. Yeah, I was thinking of mixing things up a little more in the future, like doing some more traditional carving like this, but I might have to get some more tools like chisels and gouges and stuff like that. When I was younger as a kid, I used to do these engravings with linoleum and make prints out of them and stuff like that, just for grade school projects. Made like mini printing presses off linoleum blocks and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But you got to think things in reverse, because when you print, it's going to be just the opposite. Especially lettering, you got to do everything in reverse because when you do it, print it out on a piece of paper, normally it would be backwards, so you got to do everything backwards on the carving. Just like that Albrecht Dürer is like some engraver from Germany in the Middle Ages, like the 1500s. He did some masterful engravings, like woodblock engraving, so that's kind of interesting. So the face is starting to come into picture now, and I think it's where I want it to be, but there's always room for improvement. And this buck knife, like I said, has kind of limitations, but it's still, you can do a lot with it if you do it in the right way. This piece of bark's on the smaller side. I usually prefer a bigger piece of bark like this, but since we're doing an experiment or a practice carve, it doesn't matter. Yeah, funny thing about this buck knife, it came from my ex-girlfriend's mom up in Washington, near Forks, Washington, up in the Olympic Peninsula. Because when I was truck driving and living up there, I used to go mushroom hunting all the time. And when you pick mushrooms, you're not supposed to yank them out of the ground. You're supposed to cut them off and leave the subsystem in the ground so it could propagate for the next season. So basically, that's what this knife is used for, but I use it for carving too. It's a multi-purpose kind of knife. But I've cut tons of chanterelles with this thing up there in the Crescent Lake area up there. It's really beautiful. And I think I'm about due for a road trip back up there sometime. Plus, it's close to the Canadian border. I've been up there before, up in Vancouver. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, right near Geordie's area. Hopefully, they're not suffering too much up there with the wildfires, but like I heard, Spokane just got pummeled with some wildfires up there as well. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what this face is reminds me of. It kind of reminds me of some guy where his dog drops one and it's fucking a horrendous smell. That's why he's like looking like that, because he can't stand the smell, so he's like squinting his eyes, like woo or something like that, you know. Which is weird because George Carlin used to say like or something like, how come everyone's farts smell bad except for yours or something like that. I don't know if that was him or not, but it seems like he would tell a joke like that. But sure miss that guy. He was a great comedian. You need a few laughs these days, especially what's going on in the world. Something to break the ice, more or less. But yeah, something to ponder. This carving is most closely related to a live carving almost. Nothing's been severely edited at all. Except I sped it up a little slightly. Not too much, but enough to shorten the video down to like a half hour, because the real time carve was about almost an hour. So like I couldn't see myself like talking for an whole hour, so that's why I cut it down to a half hour. So that's the reason why. It's a little bit shorter or sped up. Which reminds me, I've been wanting to do a live stream and see how that works out, but I'm really far off the grid and it might have some problems. Plus, I only have one camera and it's on my iPhone, and I don't know if I can answer any live comments while I'm doing the carving, since the phone will be doing everything as well at the same time. And then I'll be carving as well. So, yeah, I could see myself multitasking if I had another set of gear that could, like a monitor or something like that, while I can do the carving and stuff and react to some comments or something like that. But who knows? It's another piece of gear that you would have to buy. And then right now, I just don't have the resources for that. So I'll just stick for what I do now. But nevertheless, in the future, I could see something happening along those lines. But I just thought I'd mention that. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up too high yet, but by saying, yeah, I'm going to do a live carving and not do it. So, like, I won't promise anything right now. So, but I'll just entertain the thought in the future when I do get better situations. Like, I got to get my workshop built, like I'm digging out. So, I'm going to use that as a multi purpose camper storage place and then a workshop. So I'll be showing you guys some of that stuff pretty soon too, like the progress. I actually got the post in the ground, 6 posts. I just got to do a few more things and then get a roof over it. And dig out a little more so I could stuff the camper under the roof. Yeah, we're getting real close to the accident that happens with the scribe tool. And it's not going to be very pretty. It happened so fast that it just, like, it didn't really, there was no shock value at all. Just like, boom. You know, it's just like, okay, whatever. But, yeah, it's, right after this, you'll be seeing it here pretty soon. And it happened when I used the blunt end, more or less, which was a big mistake. So you're going to see it. I was trying to just, like, shape the wing areas of the nose. It just didn't work out too well. Right there. Oops. My bad. So anyway, yeah. So I resorted to just, like, modifying the whole area around the nose and stuff like that, instead of gluing it back on. So also, I'm going to be doing some chainsaw carving hopefully in the next video. I'm not sure yet, but either that or the next one after that. So I'm going to give it a shot. I've done some, practicing here and there, but nothing too major. No completed pieces yet. I just did some tests with it, so just to see how it works out. So I think I could block out something and maybe go after it with a die grinder afterwards. See how it works out. Should be pretty cool because I got all these dead standing trees and I don't have to put the wood in a vise or anything. I'll just use an existing tree that's dead and standing. Just have to top off the top first and then go after that maybe if I wanted to, or just leave it as is in the tree. It depends on what I do. Like if I'm doing a totem pole, I might just leave the whole freaking tree up. But then I got to get some gear and climb up and do the rest of the top part. So I did have a commission to do a totem pole a few years ago. Some people wanted me to do something. Some art dealers at back east, good friends of mine, but they unfortunately the wife passed on and the husband's like relegated to some memory care thing. He's up there in age, but they're really prolific art dealers and stuff, mainly with pre-Columbian art down in Central America. So unfortunately, that didn't come to fruition. So it's always in the back of my mind. I'd like to do one in their honor, especially for her because she was such a great person, friend of mine, friend of the family's. And I don't know, it's just like sad seeing people go. But yeah, totem pole's in order, I think. It's going to be a multi phase operation where I have multiple faces on it with animals mixed in with humans and stuff like that. So it'll be kind of cool to do that because I need to practice more on my animals, as a matter of fact, because I've been mainly doing human faces, which nothing wrong with that. I just want to see if I can handle some animals better. I did some bears in the past and other things like that, but they're on a smaller scale. So, but I like to do some chainsaw, larger scale work, and yeah, that would be interesting concept. So as I've been babbling on, I've been modifying this face from the accident just to recompensate for the loss of the nose. So far, so good. I think we have a winner nevertheless, despite the fact that this is the shittiest piece of wood I've carved on. No joke. Seriously, yeah. It's I don't think anything's topped this one, but maybe close to it, but this is like the one that's the nastiest. It's certainly a piece of wood you wouldn't want to use professionally, I'd say. If you're making a commission piece or something like that. Nah, by no means. This is more or less for practice. But overall, I think it's not a total loss. You could salvage projects like this if you get creative somehow. Try some different things. Like you can make them have no nose. You can make them like a skull, like a face with a skull nose. That might be an interesting concept. So we're reaching the end of this carving session very soon. So I just want to thank everyone for showing up and riding out the storm, more or less, and appreciate everything. Comments, likes, etc.